We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of the Caldwell First Nation of the Three Fires Confederacy and the original people of Point Pelee. I just switched over here. The original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We'll take a moment of silent reflection and then we'll stand for our national anthem. Thank you. Members of council, if you had a chance to look at items on the agenda, is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? None noted. Adoption of the minutes of the meeting held February 22nd, 2022 be adopted as presented. Mr. Councilor Reno, Deputy Mayor Malash, all in favor? That carries. Thank you. Mayor's comments. Good evening, everyone. As we conduct our regular meeting and carry on with our daily routines, I know we are all watching and thinking about the Ukraine. To our Ukraine residents, know that we are thinking of you and your loved ones during this difficult time. We hope you feel the love and support of the millions of people around the world who are thinking of you and praying for peace. We stand strong with the people of Ukraine. March break is next week, and we have activities planned at the Vollmer Complex to keep your kids busy during the week. Visit lasalleactive.ca for full schedule and activities and to register. I'm happy to say that the Strawberry Festival is returning this year to an in-person event. After 2 years of virtual attendance, the virtual activities, we finally be returning to the event as we know it. Our staff are already planning an exciting weekend. More to come as we get closer to the summer, but something to look forward to in June. We have a presentation tonight by IRCA on IRCA's transition plan and draft 2022 budget. I believe we have Kieran McKenzie, Vice Chair at IRCA, appearing via Zoom, as well as Tim Burney, CEO, Secretary, Treasurer. Sorry. Okay, just been notified Mr. Burney's having trouble getting in. Kieran, welcome. Councilor McKenzie, do you want to start before Tim can get on, or?
Sure. Good evening, Your Worship, and thank you for having us here this evening. I'm sure Tim will be on momentarily. He sometimes does have a little bit of trouble. The services where he lives probably aren't quite up to snuff. Not as good as they are in LaSalle, I would assume. So, but I'll just get started. Tim pretty much knows what I'm going to say, so he'll be able to get caught up when he's able to join us. So, thank you for having us here. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. And on behalf of the Essex Region Conservation Authority, thank you for this opportunity to provide conservation highlights from the past year, an overview of our transition plan as required by the province of Ontario, and to present our 2022 budget. I'm supposed to say I'm pleased to be joined by Tim Birney here, but at this point, but we will be joined by him momentarily. But as well, I'm also pleased to see my IRCA board colleagues, Councillors Desjarlais, as well as Councillor Carrick, who I've very much enjoyed having the opportunity to serve with them over the years that I've been with the IRCA, the Conservation Board, Conservation Authority, and I can assure you to all of your colleagues, Mark and Sue, that these two very much do serve your community and the Conservation Authority with distinction at our board. I'd like to provide some brief information about IRCA's transition plan, which can be found using the link included on page 16 of your agenda package. This plan is required as part of Bill 229 and outlines the timelines associated with compliance with the recently released regulations. Some of the important deliverables identified in this transition plan have already been accomplished in the 2022 budget, which is transparent, detailed, and provides clarity as to what programs and services are funded by the local tax levy. A detailed inventory of mandatory and non-mandatory services can be found beginning on page 48 of your agenda. In short, mandatory services included programming related to natural hazards, protection and provision of passive recreation at conservation areas, drinking water, source protection, and the enabling services to provide these programs. Well, the program details are outlined comprehensively within the provided budget. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight a few areas. This budget includes an emphasis on improving building and maintaining conservation areas for the public, especially the significant historical resource of the John R. Park Homestead, which has been permanently entrusted to the Conservation Authority to preserve in perpetuity. The budget also continues to address the significant increased demands and legislative responsibilities of development and corporate services staff. It further includes the urgent updates to our data systems and workflows to improve security, efficiency, and customer-facing services. The draft 2022 budget totals just over $9 million, with a total levy funding of $3.5 million. This represents an increase of about 2.5%, equaling just over $85,000 to the total budget. This equals an increase when you break that figure down of $26.15 per household, based on an assessed value of $300,000 per household. That equates to 26 cents per household. In the town of LaSalle, based on the CBA apportionment, the requested increase amounts to about $11,850. In accordance with the transition plan, before the end of 2023, the Conservation Authority will need to enter into agreements with participating municipalities where municipal support is needed to fund non-mandatory services. Now, it's important to emphasize that historically, the local investment of levy and municipal special project funding for services that the province has categorized as non-mandatory has been matched dollar for dollar, if not exceeded. So for every dollar that non-mandatory service funding for infrastructure, we're getting $1 back from senior levels of government that's coming back into our community. So we're definitely on the plus side of that investment matrix, if you look at it from that perspective. Between 2017 and 2021, IRCA received municipal funds of just over $9.75 million for non-mandatory programs and services, funds that have otherwise been deployed in other regions. During that time, non-municipal funds of $9.9 million were received to support those very same initiatives. This financial benefit is in addition to the vital impacts that these services have on improving watershed health. It's widely recognized that conservation authorities play a critical role in protecting our environment and natural heritage, mitigating hazards, and supporting municipal partners by providing an environmental conservation and risk assessment lens on development. And as an elected official, I too believe that if we want our Windsor-Essex community to continue to be a place of choice to live, work, and invest in, we need to ensure that we are working together collaboratively to protect and restore our natural environment. You know, in my view, and a view shared by many others, the types of resource management programming offered by IRCA are most effectively and efficiently provided regionally on an integrated watershed management basis. So on behalf of our chair, Tanya Jobin, our entire board, we look forward to continuing to work with you and your administrative staff to negotiate municipal agreements as required and identified within the transition plan. It's only through collaboration that we can collectively ensure that our Windsor-Essex region becomes resilient and sustainable. We're pleased to present IRCA's 2021 annual report as well, which can be found using the link included on page 16 in your agenda package. It highlights the conservation projects, programs, and services provided in the past year in working toward a sustainable future. We hope you'll take the opportunity to review that at your leisure. It is comprehensive and I think also impressive, if I do say so myself. We do have a brief video that highlights some of these initiatives, and we're pleased to share it here with you tonight. Again, thank you for your time this evening. We're happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure if Tim's been able to join us yet, that you may have following the short presentation. If he's not been able to, I certainly will do my best to be able to address any questions that you may have. I'm not sure.
I'm on the phone line, Your Worship.
Thank you, Tim. Maybe
I was locked out of Zoom. I'm just on the phone line.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Maybe you could just sing us a tune, make sure you're all synced up here. If people don't know, Tim's a good singer in the band. Do you have anything to add to the comments, Mr. Burney?
No, I think my vice chair did a magnificent job. We appreciate the opportunity of coming in front of you. And again, acknowledge our board members, and hopefully you enjoy the annual report video.
Thank you, Tim. I believe you have, you can share your screen, Kieran.
Is it, so I was never sent a copy of the video.
Oh, okay. So I don't know who
is, I was operating under the assumption it had been sent to administrative staff. If that's not the case, I do apologize.
It's okay. We're going to just go check with our technical team to see if they have anything there. It should just be a minute. We believe we have it. We just have to find it. Thank you. Sorry for your worship. So this is a good time for Tim to entertain. I guess that's not
I do much better. I do much better if there's some visual attached to it, Your Worship.
We don't. I've been notified we do not have it. Sorry. We thought we did. So sorry, Mr. McKenzie, doesn't look like it was received.
Definitely, please accept on behalf of the entire Conservation Authority my regrets on that. I will make sure that there's a link sent to all of you, to the entire council and administration as well for your review at at your leisure. But certainly do apologize that we don't have it here prepared for you today.
No apology required. We're in a technical error. We don't receive things. Maybe it wasn't sent, but not to my attention anyway. Council, any questions, comments? Councillor Carrick.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, for you to Kieran or Tim. And realize, in light of what's happened in the past in regards to some funds that kind of were basically taken from IRCA through schemes, internally and externally, our IT and our mechanisms that we're putting in place to offset some of that stuff and perhaps streamline some of our policies, which will help municipalities move through the process a little quicker of permits and that thing. Can we kind of touch on that a little bit?
Mr. McKenzie.
Sir, yeah, through Your Worship, Tim will certainly be able to speak in, I think, much greater detail with respect to the specific initiatives. But I can tell you at the board level, we took the social engineering incident extremely seriously at every level, both board, administration, executive committee, you name it. And we have essentially, spared no expense in terms of making sure that we have, in terms of investigating the problem. understanding exactly what happened and implementing a comprehensive suite of solutions that will ensure that that the cybersecurity of the conservation authority is at the highest level it could be. We certainly live in challenging times in that regard, and our organization is no different than the same level of threat that many others are under at all times. We unfortunately were victimized in that type of a scenario, but certainly we've taken some pretty significant steps to ensure that we were as protected as we can be moving forward.
Mr. Burney, do you want to add anything? And just before we go on, they did find the video, so we'll play it after if Mr. Burney has nothing to add.
I think my vice chair, he's done an excellent job of describing follow-up work that my board did. In addition to that, my board, through budgeting last year, approved for positioning and hardware to be implemented to, again, eradicate any potential opportunity for the hack that occurred. We are diligently updating our hardware and our processes. And in addition to that, training staff and additional means to interpret cyber threats and any social engineering hacks that come our way. I believe Councillor Carrick had a question with respect to permitting and or regulations. My phone kind of broke up. I'm having just wonderful technology issues here tonight. I want to be able to answer that if I've not answered the question.
Yes, I did ask that question.
With respect to the hacker, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
No, not the hacker, but just expediting the processes and permits. I believe we were trying to address that as well.
Yes, we were, and we are. With the budget, we've included additional administrative supports to assist with and eradicate the bottleneck that occurs when you have multiple opportunities for people to contact the office. In some cases, the same person contacting the office multiple times starts to jam up the queues when we aren't providing adequate administrative support to clear those out and to allow for the proper staff to get the proper information at the appropriate time and to proceed with those reviews immediately. So looking at some additional staff supports administratively, and then also modifying some of our existing procedures to account for that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we go to council questions, we will be playing the video. We got to see it. That was very good. Well
Very
done.
happy about that.
Now we'll open it to council questions. Councilor Reno, you had a question?
No, Your Worship. I was just going to offer the location of the link in the addendum. So you guys found that, and that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, Councilor McKenzie, thank you. Appreciate the update and the budget. Tim, thank you for calling in, and we'll see you next USWA meeting.
Definitely looking forward to it, Your Worship. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council.
Council's pleasure. By Deputy Mayor Malage, support Councilor Desjardins. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we go to our report E1 2022 Mill and Pave Contract Award. Michael.
Mayor, members of council, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Oh, okay, very good. This report is regarding the contract award of the 2022 mill and pave contract to Milliam Corporation for the bid price of just under $700,000. The budget was for $750,000, so it's within the approved capital budget. The mill and pave work locations are within the report, but the streets that we'll be doing this summer are Carnegie, Grandin, Farrell, Vandernoot, Schwab, Oaklot, and Birmingham. The tender closed February 3rd. We had two bidders. Milliam was the lowest. And we are expecting to start hopefully in May and be finished before the 1st of July, before Canada Day is our intentions. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Council's pleasure. Moved by Deputy Mayor Malage, or do you have a question?
I have a question as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Through you to Michael, just I guess I've never really asked this before because we haven't been in the circumstance we're in now. Last year, we obviously received the same type of report. Did all of those jobs get completed, all the roads that were set for last year? Did everything get completed, or was anything left behind to be forward to this year?
From my understanding, that contract is complete. We released a holdback actually recently. So all the works there is complete under the 2021 contract.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Reno, did you have a question?
No, I was looking to support the motion.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Reno, support by Councilor Akpata. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Don't go far, Mr. Capucci. Go ahead.
Alrighty. The next report here is for the award of the floating docks contract to Bedrock 42 Inc. for a price of just under $80,000. This one came in over budget, and we would be also requesting to fund the deficit through the Parks Reserve of an amount of $45,000. This work was tendered in February, and it closed with 3 competing bids, this being the lowest. The 2 locations for the docks are at the Vollmer Stormwater Management Pond, as well as within the Turkey Creek Vince Marcotte Park location there. Based on the current climate, I guess you could say, regarding construction and works, there's no reason for us to believe that these prices are going to come down. So Public Works is recommending that we go forward with it and funding the deficit through the reserve.
Thank you, Mr. Capucci. Council's pleasure. Councilor Reno
I'll move the recommendation.
and support Deputy Mayor Malage. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Cafe proposal at LaSalle Civic Center, Ms. Hadre.
Good evening. Thank you. Mayor Bondi and members of council, we had a unique proposal from local business owners of Cava Cafe and Bakery to open a small cafe in the kitchenette at the LaSalle Civic Center. Cava is opening their own main location in the Malden Square Plaza, which is currently under construction. Cava did use the space at the LaSalle Civic Center during the holiday night market, so they are aware of the space and the limitations and capacities that are in that space. With their location so close to this one, the intent is that they would actually continue to run both locations when their main location is opened. They would be able to train staff to work at both locations, and they would be able to bring baked goods from the main location over to the Civic Center. The Civic Center doesn't have the capability to bake at this location, so it would be a good opportunity for them to be able to bring their product over and sell it at this location. They are very excited to be a part of the LaSalle community, and this opportunity will get them started while their main location is under construction. If you remember back a few years ago, Life After 50 was running a small cafe in that location. It was volunteer run, so it was a little bit difficult. There wasn't consistent hours at that time. We see this as a good pilot project to test the use of the space within the LaSalle Civic Center. That space really hasn't been used to its potential. It's mostly unused. And it would be a good addition to this site for the library, with the library opening back up, with the lobby opening back up, and then with the Friendship Center starting in soon as well. I'm available if there's any questions. If you need any other information, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Hadre. Councillor Reno.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Don. One tiny little thing in the financial implications, it talks about will be responsible to clean the kitchenette. I assume that's just the first cleaning, and that we will not be continually cleaning it for them going forward.
When we worked with Life After 50, we did clean it. It's really, there's not a lot of space to clean. I think it's wiping down the counters and cleaning the floors is really all the cleaning that area consists of.
Okay, I would just want to make sure that everything's good with the health unit and things like that before we move forward with that. But if we've done it before, that sounds good to me.
Sure. The owners are aware of all the rules through the health unit, as well as the COVID protocols.
Thank you.
We have Deputy Mayor Meloche, then Councillor Desjardins, then Councillor Vito Spagnuolo.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, through you to Ms. Hadre. I love the idea of obviously getting something back in that space. That was the original plan when we built Town Hall. I guess my concern is that we're not putting it out to tender and allowing other local businesses the opportunity to go inside those spaces. I know in the past we've done that we tried anyways, with the concession at the Valmer. I don't believe we had anybody come back, but I mean, the fact is that we did put it out to the community to make sure that we were being fair to all of our local businesses. And I just want to make sure that by us going directly to one person, that we're not kind of putting ourselves in a situation where, you know, another local business is going to come to us and be upset that they didn't get that opportunity as well.
Sure. We've never had anybody come forward to look at this space, and considering how busy the Valmer is and the lack of interest that we had in that space, and we really never intended to put a call out for this space at all. The opportunity was there that they came to us to ask us for interest in that. I understand I did speak to Mr. Langlois, and he can pop on the screen here if he likes, but because we're not purchasing anything, it doesn't fall under the procurement bylaw.
Mr. Longo, you want to add something?
Sure. Yeah, under the procurement bylaw, that's more for purchasing. We aren't putting ourselves at any legal risk when it comes to this. And then just kind of reiterating what Ms. Hadre just spoke about, we did go out for tender twice at the Valmer Center, which is the concession, which is quite a large operation there. You know, a lot more business occurs there. The first time we went out, we didn't receive any proposals, and the second time we went out, we received one, but it didn't work out. just after looking at the details, it didn't work out. So we continued to operate it ourselves. So historically, there hasn't really been any interest. I'm not sure if we ever did go out for proposal when we did open the town hall. Mr. Militia might know better than myself, but I think, you know, we like having casual conversations with other coffee shop owners about the opportunity. No one's ever really shown interest in this location. So we aren't at any legal risk, but there is always the ability to go out for a proposal if we wish, but I wouldn't expect there to be any interest. And it kind of matches up with their main operations being close by. From a business perspective, you know, they can cook at that location and then bring the product over here versus not really having an area to actually cook at this location. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Like it is rather convenient with them down the road, and they are a new business, and we love to support all of our local businesses. I just want to be sure, like I said, that, like you said, we've never put it out before for the town. Are there other businesses that didn't even know it was an option? And I would hate for them to, you know, move in for the year, and then we find we have many other businesses going, well, wait, that's not fair. Why didn't we get that opportunity? So that's my only concern. I think it's a great addition to the town. And I'm sure everybody visiting the town as well, staff will really enjoy having that available to them during the day now that hopefully COVID's behind and we actually can use the facility the way it's meant to be. Thank you.
We are looking at as a pilot project too. So, you know, changes can be made going forward. We can look at other options in the future too, once we see if this works for a business like them and if it works for us as well.
Thank you. Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you. Through you to, I'm not sure if it would be Joe or Dawn. Deputy Mayor Malash asked one of my questions about putting it out for tender. I wonder if we have any contract with them for one thing, and secondly, if we have any, if this would be a liability to the town at all. Dale just said that there's no legal risk, but I don't know if that's just in regards to tendering or not. If someone could let me know, please.
We have spoken to them. They will supply us with liability insurance. And we've spoken to Mr. Dadalt about that as well. So he sees no issues with that. And sorry, what was your first question?
If we have any kind of a contract with them?
At this time, we do not, but we would enter into an agreement before they would come in and provide service.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I would move for the acceptance of the motion then.
Okay, moved by Councillor Desjardins, support Councillor Akpata. Questions? We have Councillor Spagnuolo, then Councillor Akpata.
Thank you. Through you. Actually, my colleagues asked the questions that I did want to ask, but I will ask one more through you to Dawn. What will be the hours? Is it a weekend thing as well? Is it just Monday to Friday?
Right now, their hours they are looking at to match the hours that the library are open. They're open more than we are at Town Hall. So they are looking to match those at this point.
Councillor Akpata.
Thank you, Your Worship. To whomever in administration can answer me, I get the pilot project and I like this. Do we have a clearly defined success criteria for the pilot? And if so, is it our success criteria or theirs?
I would say it's probably joint, Councillor Akpata, between obviously they want to make money to make it a successful business as well. And we want it to be a positive addition to the LaSalle Civic Center. So definitely we would work with them, you know, through social media to help them out as well. They can work with the library perhaps, and when the Friendship Center comes back in. But definitely I think that we both want it to be successful.
A supplemental, Your Worship?
Yes, Councillor Akpata.
So again, I think it's an outstanding idea. How long do you anticipate the pilot running for before either, and I realize you can't speak for a private entity, but how long do you think we'd run the pilot before we engage in either permanence or amendments or things of that nature?
At this point, we've talked about trying it for 1 year, but of course there would be clauses in there if either party felt that they needed to get out sooner, we could talk about that too.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Sorry, I just thought of something. one quick thing on what you said earlier to Councillor Reno about the cleaning. I guess my concern is we're going inside their work area and cleaning their work area, and I'm not sure if that's the best idea ever, for liability issues, but also there may be people in the town who think we're financially assisting this business by them not having to pay someone to do it on their own. So I want to be cautious of that. And my only other question would be, now that we are starting to have events again, if we were to hold our citizen volunteer awards there again in the fall, would we be able to use that space as we have in the past for food?
I'm sure we can talk to them about that. We also have use of the Friendship Center that I think we ran food out of there as well. So we could work with them and talk to them about that. As for the cleaning, we were just going off of what we did for Life After 50, but that's something we can work out in the agreement as well.
Okay, I see no other questions. We have a mover and a seconder. Any, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hadre.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Militia would like to add something.
Again, not to the issue. We are aware, just to the viewing audience and those online, we are aware that there is a feedback issue. We can't seem to figure out exactly where it's coming from, quite frankly. So please bear with us as we go through that. We are finding that the feedback issue is the reverse here at Chambers. So interesting that you're hearing the echo when these mics are that I'm speaking right now. I'm sure you're hearing some sort of echo or feedback, and we're hearing the opposite when you speak. So it's technology abound. So isn't it great? But we are aware of the situation. So we do apologize, and we will try to rectify that as the meeting goes on.
Thank you, Mr. Militia. Okay, item E2, 2021 Building Division Activity. Mr. Langlois, I believe. There he is.
Good evening. I think we might have skipped
application-based funding and grant update.
Yeah.
Mr. Ferraro, come back to you.
Mr. Ferraro.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. The report before you is intended to provide an update, informationary update on our application-based grants for the last few years. As Council is aware, during our budget presentation, we spoke a little bit about the lack of allocation-based grants that the town of LaSalle receives as a comparison to our regional neighbors. In lieu of that, administration spends quite a bit of time looking for application-based grants. And the attached report highlights 24 applications that we put forward over the last 2.5 years, approximately. 16 of those were successful, and 5 of those we're waiting for a decision on, including one for a water main project that's quite significant at 2.5 million, I believe, in which we have received provincial support and we're awaiting federal support. Unfortunately, 3 of the 24 were unsuccessful, but certainly a very high success rate. The applications range, they range in value, they range in percentage contribution required from the town, and they also are from different funding agencies. So we certainly look across many agencies to find funding opportunities. Some of them are as large as the DMAF grant at 14.8 million, where we were required to contribute 60% over multiple years. And some of them are quite small, but they also fund 100% of the actual applications, such as the recent My Main Street Activator grant that paid for the programming at the Holiday Lights and Heritage Nights event. So certainly we also received in the last couple of years a grant to assist with the repairs of the Vollmer for the oil cooler separator and the partial roof rehab, as well as changing all the HVAC units. And we also received $750,000 to contribute towards the event center retrofit. Certainly, it's definitely a team approach that we use on all these grants. A lot of departments are involved, and certainly it is a significant time commitment from a lot of people, but obviously very worthwhile given the dollar amounts that we are able to receive through all these application-based grants. So that's basically the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Akpata, then Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to you, Tano. If you could explain to me, do we have a specific grant writer? And the reason I'm asking is through my work, I've become engaged in a number of grants to try to get them for other clients. So I understand the level of lift. And I'm just wondering if we have a specific individual that champions the grants, or as you said, a multi-departmental approach.
The vast majority of the grants flow through finance, so that is the responsibility of my position. But certainly, I can tell you that there's a lot of input from other areas. But a majority of the grants are actually submitted through myself. But certainly, there is quite a few individuals who assist. Some of them are a little more complex than others. From time to time, we get external help, but very, very rarely we do that. But so certainly, most of it is through internally, and but there's a lot of help. But it is through my position, yes.
Mr. Longo, you want to add something?
I just wanted to say, Tano's a pretty humble guy, but he has done a heck of a lot of work. As you can see, the number of grants that we've applied over the past two years, and kind of leading the charge on those. It is a heck of a lot of work. I was in his position before that, and it seems like a heck of a lot more grants are becoming available right now. So, he leads the charge. He does work with all the other departments. It's something I'm pretty proud of in the finance department, and you can see the value of his efforts through this report.
Yes, he is a humble man, and we thank him, but he has set the bar very high for the coming years.
Supplemental, Your Worship.
Councillor Akpata, you had another question?
Just a comment. And again, to Mr. Langlaw, one of the things that I appreciate with our admin is just what you did, sir, by acknowledging your staff and by acknowledging the team approach and by allowing him to humbly back away from the spotlight. Congratulations to both you and the gentleman for the grants you've given the town of LaSalle and the people who live in this community.
Thank you, Councillor Akpata. We have Deputy Mayor Malash, then we have Councillor Edicio Spagnolo, Mr. Kerr, and Mr. Renna. So, Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. Through you to Mr. Farrow. So, yes, a huge congratulations, because I know several years ago we would get these reports and they were never very positive. And we always sat there going, why can't we get approved for anything? Why is LaSalle getting no, no, no? So this is a massive change from what we had years ago. I guess my only question to you would be, obviously there's some big ones coming along the way that we're hoping to be successful in receiving for our waterfront and other items in the town. When you did the report, you mentioned that we receive significantly less funding than our neighbors. I think you said 25% less. Is there something we can do to up our numbers, or is it all just calculation based and that's just where LaSalle falls?
Those are calculation based items. Page 37 of our budget book kind of outlines where we're at compared to our regional neighbors. I think during our budget presentation, if I recall correctly, Dale did mention the majority of these items are based on two things: assessment value within the communities. LaSalle's assessment values are higher than our regional comparators, and as well, the income levels of our residents is higher than our regional comparators. So therefore, those are the two main factors that are contributing to us receiving significantly less allocation-based funding from the province and the feds.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I kind of thought that was the answer, but you hope for something different. So I do thank you though, like I said, congratulations, because looking at how many we received successfully this time around, or this last little bit, is something to be very proud of. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Longmore.
Sorry, just to add to that, we have actually received some good news since the budget on some formula-based grants. The OCIF grant, they're kind of changing their methodology. And we actually, that's an annual allocation, and we've been notified it's changed from $726,000 a year to $1.7 million. So it's just shy of $1 million increase per year, which is great news. It's definitely going to help with some of the challenges we have, especially with the inflationary pressures that we have. And, going forward, this is based on the replacement value of the assets included in our asset management plan. So updating our asset management plan, it's important for us to focus and make sure that we have included all infrastructure related assets and that we're properly valuating them at the replacement value, because that's a large part of that formula. It's also based on some of the factors that Mr. Ferraro mentioned, such as median income and household values, which drive our share down, but the asset replacement value will help drive our share up. So we just want to make sure we're going to focus a lot of efforts on our asset management plan and making sure that we have captured everything and have appropriate replacement values in there.
Thank you, Mr. Longwood. I'll just remind council and the viewing audience, this is an award-winning team 7 years in a row. So we expect nothing but the best from these two. So thank you. We now have Councillor Nicho Spagnuolo.
Thank you, through you to Mr. Ferraro. I just wanted to congratulate you and your team. I know how much work and energy it takes to writing grants, and I applaud you and your team on some great success. That is a very impressive status. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carrick.
Yeah, thanks. So this is what I touched on last meeting, and the mayor said that it was coming. So this is very impressive, the amount of work that's been done and what we've achieved, or you have achieved, administration through getting grants. And I too have done a little bit of fundraising, so I understand that how hard it is to actually get grants and money, especially these days, much worse. So that's great news on the extra $1 million, basically, that we've achieved that we're getting. And also, I did mention to pass this on to the CAO and ask and thought that perhaps in every budget session, something like this during the budget could be an item, and I think it'd be very helpful. So, because we know what you guys do, even maybe not to this extent, but the public, this would be a great tool to have at budget sessions for us to see exactly what's been going on and how much has been raised and what we've applied for. So I'll leave it at that and let you guys work your magic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carrick. And Councillor Renaud.
Thank you, Your Worship. Like everyone else on council tonight, I would like to thank and applaud our finance team. We have all recognized the number of times we've been kicked to the side with these applications. And although Mr. Langlois was also a bit humble when he said that there's more these days than there were with the last guy, like the mayor said, this is the last guy was around for the first award-winning budget. So don't sell yourself short, Dale. It is a team effort, and all your work is recognized. Again, congratulations. And what I see here, like Councillor Carrick said, I see almost $20 million divided by 35,000 approximate people. That's over $600 that we have saved every single person in this town from their pocketbook by going out after these grants, because otherwise the money has to come from somewhere, has to come from people's pocketbooks. You have saved everyone significant money. So thank you, gentlemen, and we look forward to more great things.
And Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you. Certainly hope not last but not least. Again, thank you to the finance team for the great work that you're doing. I noticed on the report that there are a couple of things pending. One of them, Canada Summer Jobs and Reconnect Festival, an event that we hope to use for the Strawberry Festival and for summer employment. Do you think we'll hear on those soon, or?
I suspect that we will hear positive results on the summer jobs program. This will be the third year in a row that or probably more than 3 years in a row that we've gotten that.
4, maybe 5.
So, and on the Strawberry Festival, Reconnect Festival, we're waiting to hear that soon. I don't know the exact date we're supposed to hear back. I do apologize, but I'm hoping that is soon, and hopefully we're successful there as well.
Okay, and then I only had a couple of other questions. You've done such a great job on everything, but there are a couple I'm concerned about. One of them has to do with Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility that we were denied. Is there a time frame that we can reapply if a grant comes up again? Like, do we have to wait a certain number of years?
No, I don't think we have to wait again. We'll certainly keep those on the radar, and if it comes up again, we'll apply there. But there is no waiting period. No.
Okay, and that would be then the same probably for St. Clair Park, the improvements there?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, council. All good questions. You know, we sometimes take for granted they come in, do their job and away they go. And I know with COVID, council hasn't been in here as much, but when I'm here, they're always at their desk. Don't know what they're always doing, but I think it comes to show they're working hard. And it's nice to be part of the team and recognize the award-winning team again. So Tana, with that said, it's no time for a raise, so don't come in asking for anything in the near future. Council's pleasure. Moved by Councillor Dicho Spagnolo, support Councillor Desjardins. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Tano. Mr. Langwa, 2021 Building Division Activity.
Your worship, members of council, this is an annual report that's required just to report on the status of the building department, which under Bill 124 is required to fund itself. But you know, just kind of another good news story. I was looking back over the history of this reserve, and in 2014, just a couple years before the housing market boom around here, our reserve was in a deficit position of just shy of $1.7 million. So at that point in time, I remember Mr. Solani speaking with him. It was becoming a concern. We kept digging ourselves a hole every year over year, and he took a look at the actual cost of the division and adjusted the building permit fees accordingly to make sure that it could fund itself. And then, you know, 2 years after that, the housing boom started. We started getting a lot of building permit applications, and we started digging ourselves out of that hole. So, you know, in 2021, we had a surplus of $441,000. We had $1.1 million of building permit revenue in total come in. And now that reserve balance stands at just shy of $850,000 surplus. So that's in 7 years, that's quite an accomplishment. That's $2.4 million that we've allocated to that reserve, dug ourselves out of the hole. You know, now we have a healthy balance in there in case, you know, if one day the housing boom stops, that'll help fund any future deficits. So that's another good news story. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that council might have on that.
Seeing none, I have one. I see we're ahead by 184% in building permits. That's pretty good just in 2 months. And no major projects?
So, sorry, that's 2021. So that's the whole
this
year.
This is actual year and 2021 is where.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Still was good to be
Yeah.
184 or 184% above, or 84%. Hang on a sec. I need my glasses. Oh, 84%. Good job.
Yep.
And I know that was not any grant approvals. That's just people wanting to come to LaSalle and issuing building permits. So thank you, Mr. Langwa. Council's pleasure. Councillor Dicho Spagnolo, support Councillor Carrick. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Correspondence from the Township of Perth South dated February 9th, 22 regarding catch and release justice. Councillor Reno.
I'll move to receive.
Motion to receive. Support Councillor Carrick. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Correspondence from IRCA. Okay, that was for our presentation. So that's, oh, sorry, we still have to approve the draft budget. Okay. Deputy Mayor Malash, sorry. Deputy Mayor Malash and Councillor Carrick, all in favor? That carries. Thank you. Summary of reports to council. Oh, do you have a question, Deputy Mayor?
I did actually from the item number 3. We received. Are we also forwarding? Yeah, are we agreed to receive it, but are we forwarding a copy to the LaSalle Police Service?
Not if we just receive it. Councillor Reno.
I'm sorry, I'll amend that. I wanted it as the recommendation read, which did include the forward. So I will amend that, please.
Sorry, just checking what we have to do legally. Need another motion to forward it to police. Councillor Reno, Deputy Mayor Malash, all in favor? That carries. Thank you. Thank you for that point of order, Deputy Mayor. Summary of reports to council. Councillor Carrick, Deputy Mayor Malash, all in favor? That carries. Thank you. Bylaws. We have 3 bylaws, all 3 readings. Councillor Desjardins and Councillor Reno, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Council questions. Councillor Dicho Spagnolo.
Thank you. Through you. I'm not sure if this would go to Ms. Finaro, but just wondering, I've had some inquiries at the Valmer if and when the concession stand will be open again, now that restrictions are lifted and they see that some other arenas do have some concession stands open. So I just wanted to ask that, please.
Ms. Finaro.
Sure. Thank you for the question. At this point in time, we are getting quite close to the end of the hockey season, and we don't have any of our original concession staff from when we closed the concession back in 2020 when the pandemic started. So we don't have plans to open it for this season, but we will be looking ahead to what our plans will be for when the season starts again in September.
Thank you. Councillor Reno.
Thank you, Your Worship. With all the recent activity up on the waterfront, it looks like we're getting ready for our parking lot and things like that. I believe back before Christmas, we were teased by a CAO about possibly getting a tour of the inside. Is there anything in the works for that, Joe?
There is, Councillor Reno. We are working through that at this point. We are somewhat confined in terms of getting members of council safely in and out of the site because it is an active site. But we are working through that and should have news for council soon.
Thank you. For the record, I do have a hard hat and extra boots if anyone needs help.
Councillor Ekpata.
Through you to Mr. Langlois. Mr. Langlois, I've always learned from the document that you added to the budget about the price of gas and paving. With the price of gas doing what it's doing and our proper plan to meet our paving, do you see, sir, will we be able to meet the, and I guess I'm kind of asking you to look into your financial crystal ball and say, the plans that we have to improve the municipality as far as paving goes, when will you be concerned when the price of gas reaches a certain level as it starts to affect the cost of asphalt? Or are we already there?
I would say we're already there, and I would say it's not just with regards to asphalt. Unfortunately, gasoline, oil is in everything. It's in plastic. It's used to transport all products. It's definite. That's one of the main reasons inflation is skyrocketing everywhere. And unfortunately, with what's happening in Ukraine and with the US announcing energy sanctions from Russia, which is a large supply, I don't see this stopping anytime soon, and I only see it getting worse. So I'm actually starting to work on a quarterly report for council just to identify financial risks and concerns. You know, that OCIF grant that we got is definitely going to help us. That was not a not planned for grant, which is good news. That's going to help offset some of these pressures. It's not so much going to allow us to do a bunch of additional work. It's probably more going to mitigate the risk of the cost increases for infrastructure. But we are going to be working on a financial risk report. You know, interest rates are starting to climb because of inflation. We're moving into a different era than we have been used to and enjoyed over the past 5 to 6 years, with low interest rates, low rates of inflation under 2%. We're now experiencing high. it's going to change the way we operate financially and some of the focuses that we have to do. So we are going to create a quarterly report to council to keep everyone, council and our residents in the loop as we move forward. Some of the pressures, what we can expect moving forward. And, it's not just the town of LaSalle. We're going to see this with every municipality, not locally, just in the country. So we're all in the same boat, but we do want to make sure that everyone's prepared and not surprised before the budget sessions. And we'll keep everyone up to speed. We'll keep track of inflation, the consumer price index, the non-construction price index, interest rates, and we'll explain exactly what those means and what's caused them. So I hope to have that at the second council meeting in April.
Thank you. Mr. Militia would like to add something.
I believe that our existing, Mr. Langlois spoke of kind of future works to come, but I believe our existing contracts have a oil escalation clause. I maybe call on Mr. Mara or Mr. Osborne to explain that further.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Militia. There is we do have a contingency of about 10% in our contract, mill and pave contract. And that does allow for the escalation or de-escalation of the price of oil, basically crude oil. It may be that we use that all up, depending on what the escalation prices end up being. And when we pave, basically the sooner we pave, the better probably. But just the way we set up our contract as well is we're kind of hitting a residential area, part of a residential area. The hope is to do maybe the rest of it next year. So if we find ourselves getting a bit tight to to what we think like the contract value is, there's probably a little bit of leeway one way or the other on maybe cutting one small street out or something to that effect without having a really huge impact on the work done, and we could probably get to it the next year. But yes, those escalation clauses are in our mill and pave contract.
Just perhaps one further comment, Councillor Akpata. Again, we will be back to council. Again, unfortunately, the news isn't great on the trends going forward, certainly in the short term. So if they extend to a longer term, we may be back to council with a report requesting some deferral of projects into the 2023 year in order to hopefully mitigate and balance off perhaps an expected decrease in some of those costs. So again, we're watching it closely, but that might be some more further work that will come back to council on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate the answers, gentlemen.
Any other council questions? Seeing none, reports from committees. Statements by council members. Notices of motion. Confirmatory bylaw on all three readings. Councillor Reno, Deputy Mayor Malash, all in favor? That carries. You have your schedule of meetings. That concludes our meeting for this evening. Thank you, members of council, and thank you those of you who've joined us on YouTube. Have a great night, everyone. Stay well.